Hey, like my new car? I just got it. Well, okay, it's not really new. I can't quite afford a new one yet, but it's a really good used one. So you've probably got a checklist on what you're looking for in your first vehicle, right? Like if it's a nice color, has an MP3 player, and if it starts good and runs well, then you're probably okay, right? And if the guy selling it is offering it for really cheap, you'd be crazy not to buy it, right? Hello? If that's all that's on your checklist, you're going to run into some major problems, just like some of my friends when they went looking for their first vehicles. You see, even if a vehicle looks good and seems to work okay when you first look at it, it might have a lot of problems you can't see. Worse yet, it might not even be safe to drive. It could have been totaled in an accident and patched up just good enough to fool you into buying it. So if you're buying your vehicle privately and it's not from your dad or your aunt or someone you absolutely know you can trust, you have to be careful. So here are some basic tips that you should follow when buying your first used vehicle, no matter who you buy it from. Figure out what your budget is and stick to it.
Oh man.
Never buy a car at night. Be sure you take it for a test drive. Research the vehicle. And get it professionally inspected. First, you need to figure out what you can afford to spend on your vehicle. The real cost of buying and owning a vehicle is way more than how much you paid for it. So besides your monthly payment, don't forget insurance, registration, gas, regular maintenance like oil changes and a new air filter now and then, replacing burned out headlights and wiper blades. Plus, it might need new tires or a new battery in a year or two. And make sure you calculate how much you can really afford and stick to your maximum budget, no matter what. Number 2, always go see a vehicle in person, in daylight, and take it for a test drive before you agree to buy, especially if you found it online. Checking out the vehicle in person also gives you a chance to get the VIN, the vehicle identification number, so you can research the vehicle. Number 3, do your homework. Get a vehicle history report. You can buy one online from CarProof or Carfax. Or you can get one from Alberta registries. A vehicle history report doesn't cost very much, and a history report can tell you if the vehicle has been in an accident or written off. Also, get a lien search from Alberta registries to make sure the previous owner doesn't still owe any money on the vehicle, or that they didn't use the vehicle as collateral on another loan. You don't want to buy someone else's debt, just the vehicle. Number 4, always get an independent inspection by a licensed technician. A little money invested in an inspection can save you a lot of money and trouble down the road, and to make sure the vehicle is safe to drive. Okay, so those are the basic things you should do no matter who you buy a used vehicle from. So, where do you go to find the used vehicle of your dreams? Well, there are basically 2 ways to buy a used vehicle. You can buy from a licensed business, like a dealership or a used car lot, or from a private seller. So which one is the best way to go? If you buy from a licensed business, then at least there are rules and regulations to protect you if something goes wrong. If you buy privately, sometimes you can get a better deal, but there is more risk. If you're going to look for a used vehicle from a private seller, the first thing you need to look out for is curbsiders. A curbsider is someone who buys and sells vehicles without a license. They're scam artists who pretend they're private sellers, but they're really in business to rip you off. You might think you're smart enough to know if you're dealing with a curbsider, but it's harder than you think because they look and act just like anybody else. Curbsiders advertise like everybody else too. Newspapers, online classifieds, grocery store bulletin boards. The scary thing is that according to surveys, as many as 1 in 4 used vehicle ads in Canada are placed by curbsiders. That's because the vehicles they're trying to sell you are either stolen, rebuilt after being wrecked, in serious need of repairs, or their odometers have been rolled back. So, if the vehicle was stolen and you buy it, the minute you try to register or insure it, the cops are going to show up and take it away. And there goes your new ride and your money. Or sometimes the vehicles these guys try to sell you were written off in an accident and patched back together just enough to sell, even though it's not safe to drive. And then there's the old odometer rollback scam. A little tinkering under the dash, and all of a sudden a high-mileage vehicle on its last legs looks like it's barely been driven. It's all a scam, and once you've bought the vehicle, you might not be able to get your money back if anything goes wrong with it. So if these curbsiders look and act just like anybody else, how do you spot one? First, it's always a good idea to ask someone you know who's bought a car before to come with you. They can warn you if something doesn't seem right, and they can be your witness to what the seller said or promised to do if there are problems later on. Second, ask to see the vehicle at his home, not yours. He'll offer to meet you in a parking lot or a coffee shop or somewhere nearby, anywhere but his place. If he doesn't want you to know where he lives, what's up with that? Second, if he can't show you the registration or it isn't in his name, he says he can't find it or he's helping a relative to sell the car. If he can't prove who owns the vehicle, how do you know it's his to sell? Always insist on seeing the registration and some ID. If he can't or won't show you, or if the name doesn't match,
Bro, the names don't match.
I say run away. Number 3, if he seems in a real hurry to sell, he's moving next week or he's out of work and he'll drop the price if you buy right now. Instead of letting you get the vehicle checked out first, don't let him rush you.
Sold!
This isn't the only vehicle out there for you. You've got lots of others you just haven't seen yet. You have lots of time left, and this car won't be the only love you'll ever meet. Number 4, if you're buying privately, the best advice of all is trust your instincts. If something doesn't seem right with the seller or the vehicle, don't take any chances. And finally, if you do decide to buy privately, make sure you get a proper bill of sale. In fact, why don't you bring one, just in case? You can download it from the Service Alberta website. The other option to buying privately is to buy from a licensed business. It can cost a little more, but it's way less risky. Businesses buying and selling vehicles in Alberta are required to have a license from the Alberta Motor Vehicle Industry Council, or AMVIC. AMVIC is there to enforce the provincial laws and regulations that are in place to protect you when you buy a new or used vehicle, and to investigate complaints. All automotive businesses are required to follow the rules, and if they don't, you can report them to AMVIC. Buying from a licensed dealer is way less risky than buying from a stranger, but there are a few things you have to be careful about. First, make sure the business you're dealing with is actually licensed by AMVIC. You can also find out if a business is licensed by going to the AMVIC website. Second, don't let the salesperson confuse you with what you can afford for monthly payments. Focus on the total sale price of the vehicle and stick to your budget. Number 3, unless you ask for extra options, the price advertised should be the total price you have to pay, except for the GST and financing charges. Number 4, a licensed business is required to give you a mechanical fitness report on the vehicle before you buy it or sign any papers. Number 5, if they make any promises, like they'll get that scratch fixed before you pick it up, or you can always bring it back if you're not happy with it, make sure they put it in writing. Number 6, don't let yourself be pressured into paying a deposit, and find out if it's refundable before you give them any money. Number 7, once you've signed the papers, stop shopping, and don't put a down payment on any other vehicles. There's no turning back. You bought it. Finally, if you have any other questions, or if you want to report a curbsider or a bad experience with a licensed business, visit the AMVIC website at www.amvic.org. So good luck and have fun buying your first car. And always remember, you're in the driver's seat.